Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an Airbus pilot, and in this tutorial I will teach you the easy way to fly the iniBuilds A320. Note that this tutorial is going to be focused on the easy operation of the aircraft, and that means I will adapt some slight procedures to make the airplane accessible to as many of you flight simmers as possible. Now, if you are looking for the full-blown tutorial in which I go over every single detail of the aircraft, then I do recommend to check out my Phoenix A320 tutorial videos, which you can find linked in the video description below. Now, this one is going to be the easy version of it, fitting to the iniBuilds 320neo being a default aircraft to our simulator. Therefore, some things will definitely be simplified in this one, but overall, we are still going to cover all the important steps to fly the aircraft realistically. Alright, are you ready to go? Then let's take a look into our aircraft on this rainy little day over here in Berlin. We are currently standing in Berlin. We're going to fly it over to Cologne, which is a quick 50-minute flight that will make us familiar with how to operate the aircraft correct and realistically. Alrighty, so first things first, we gotta connect our jetways. So the first thing we are going to do is we will actually just go into the electronic flight back here and just make sure that we've got the ground power unit, the chocks, and if applicable, the jetway also connected to the aircraft. And this is basically how we are going to start. Now, on the dashboard, we are going to import the SimBrief flight plan, which I have created for this flight. You will find a share link to it in the video description below, so that you can easily create the same flight plan on your computer as well. To have a very quick look into the plan, let's just check out the operational flight plan. Berlin towards Cologne, Eurowings 2 Papa Whiskey is going to be our call sign. And the cruising level will be 340 along the pre-planned route that you have over here. Now, that's pretty much everything we need to know. In terms of the fuel, we are just going to take the standard number rounded up a little bit, so we're looking at about 4,100 kilos of fuel for our flight. Let's go to the payload page then and click the SimBrief download button, and you can see this already automatically downloads all the figures we need. Now, in terms for the fuel, as I mentioned, we're just going to round it up slightly. So let's make that 4,200 kilos. Rounded up plus 100 is, on a short haul aircraft like this, with an instant load, pretty much the default fuel figure that we would take. Alrighty, so then we can go ahead and power up our aircraft. So we just make sure that it is actually secure to do so. So the engine master switches are off, the mode selector is in normal, the weather radar and the predictive wind shear are turned off respectively, down here and up here. Landing gear lever is down, the wipers are selected off, and the battery voltage is showing greater than 25.5 volts. With all of that checked, we can turn on the batteries and the external power in order to make our aircraft light up. Alright, so from here on, we just need to give it a little bit of time in order to power up completely. You can see that the displays are conducting self-tests, the Asus is initializing, and the entire aircraft basically starts initializing over here. Now, while the airplane is doing that, we can already go ahead and just do a little bit of a basic cockpit setup, and that we can tune the lights the way we want. So for example, we have the backlighting on over here. We could switch the floodlighting on at the pilot's desire. So today we are going to turn those on. Now you have the pedestal floodlighting located down here, which you can use. And then you of course got the dome lights over here. If you're flying under nighttime conditions, you can turn on those as well. I will keep the dome lights off. We are not going to need them. For the rest of it, we are basically set up over here. Now, we just wait until the computer has initialized. You can see the flight warning computer message has just disappeared. And basically the moment we hear the triple chime or the triple click that we just heard, that's the moment when your aircraft is more or less ready to go. So let's go ahead and align the IRS next. This is probably one of the first steps you should take when you enter the aircraft. Align the IRS because they will need time. You see these here on the eCam where it says IR align, 8 minutes to go. Alright, so that's basically our initial flight deck setup completed. Now, The last thing that we can do over here now is to go over to the takeoff page, and we can already go ahead and do a preliminary takeoff calculation. So 25 left is going to be our departure runway. It's definitely going to be a wet surface, and we simply synchronize the rest of the values. For the takeoff weight over here, we go onto the payload tab, and down on the load sheet you can see the live gross weight is around about 60 tons. And we have a center of gravity for the takeoff of 29.6. So when we go to the takeoff page, we can enter the gross weight. Let's just take it 60 tons over here. Apart from that, air conditioning is going to come off, and we hit calculate, and this gives us some preliminary figures over here that ensure that we can actually safely take off on this runway. Alright, so with that, we are pretty much done on the EFB. And now we can start doing our basic flight deck setup. Now, basic flight deck setup starts on the overhead panel, and we do have an instrument scan, basically going top to bottom, left to right. And on the overhead panel we are just going to extinguish any white lights and turn on the cockpit ground control, or the cockpit voice recorder ground control. So let's do that. After the recorder is on, hit the test button, and you hear that beep sound. If you don't hear the beep sound when the test is conducted, you probably have to set the parking brake. Alright, now we go further up on the panel. We set the emergency evacuation switch onto the captain only position and make sure that the IRSs are in the nav position. Next up, we end up in the middle of the panel, and we set the strobe light to auto, the nav and logo light to position number 1. Seatbelts can come on, no smoking sign auto, and the emergency exit lights go into the arm position. Then we go further up and we turn on the fuel pumps. And finally we reach our engine and APU fire tests, which we can conduct over here. Press the test button, ensure the squib and the discharge light and the engine fire switch light up, and that we hear the continuous repetitive chime. We do the same for the APU fire warning, and we do the same for the engine number 2 fire warning. Next up, we go up on the right hand side of the panel, but there is not all that much to do. The only thing we do up here is to turn on the PA so that the PAs are getting recorded on the cockpit voice recorder. Alright, that leads us down to the main panel already, where we can start by setting the QNH. You can obtain that from the EFB's dashboard. If you click on update for the weather over here, we can see we've got a QNH of 1010, so we are going to dial that in. So 1010 is in. On the other side, verify that the anti-skid and nose wheel steering switch is in the up position. Next we get down to our pedestal, and down here we verify that we have our ATC volumes turned up. So these buttons control what we listen to on the radios, and the buttons above, that one, controls where we transmit on. So basically, in order to talk to air traffic control, we need to select where to transmit on, in this case VHF radio number 1, and we need to select what we want to listen to, which is the buttons below. And with the setup done like this, you should now be able to talk to air traffic control. Now going further down, make sure the weather radar is once again turned off and the predictive wind shear system is in the off position. We go further down and verify that our parking brake is set. And then on the other end side we can set our transponder. Now, setting up the transponder, we basically want to set it like this. The mode selector got to be on the standby. The selector, whether you are using transponder 1 or 2, is going to be on the pilot flying side. That means if you are flying from the captain's seat, you use system number 1. If you are flying from the first officer's seat, you use system number 2. Today we fly from the captain's seat, so system number 1 is in use. And the altitude selector is going to be in the on position. Going further down to the right side to our TCAS controls, we make sure that our selector goes into the above position and the TCAS mode selector remains on standby. Finally, we can set our squawk as needed. I do recommend setting standard IFR squawk 2000 if you are not flying with any other air traffic control. To do that, press the clear button once, that deletes only the last number, and then you press it again, and that should remove the entire number. So let's use squawk 2000 for our flight today. Finally, that means we end up on our flight management computer. Now, The flight management computer is going to be worthy of the separate next tutorial. So with that, I would like to say thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this one. Be sure to let me know what you think about it, and then I see you all again on the next tutorial, where we're going to set up the flight management computer. Thank you very much for watching. As always, if you liked this tutorial, be sure to like, comment and subscribe, and if you really love what I'm doing, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. Thank you for watching, and see you all on the next one.